Hello friends, in this video I will explain you about the 7th unit of ms26. So this unit belongs to, I think, let me check. Yes, this is block 2. Okay, role dynamics. So block 2, this is 7th unit, and the name of the unit is organizational stress and burnout. Okay, so first topic here, it is given what is stress. Okay. So as you can see on your screen, so stress refers to some stimulus resulting in detectable strain that cannot be accommodated by, okay, let me repeat again. Stress refers to some stimulus resulting in detectable strain that cannot be accommodated by the organism and which ultimately results in impaired health or behavior. Okay. So what is stress? It is a type of stimulus. What is stress? A type of stimulus which causes a detectable strain that cannot be accommodated. Means stimulus that causes a detectable strain in the organism and which cannot be accommodated by the organism. It means cannot be managed by the organism and which ultimately results in impaired health or behavior. Okay. So in simple word, I'm breaking this. Stress is a type of stimulus which causes detectable strain that cannot be accommodated by the organism and which ultimately results in impaired health or behavior. Okay. So next given here, general adaptation syndrome. General adaptation syndrome given has been widely held as a comprehensive model to explain the stress phenomenon. So what is general adaptation syndrome? This is a model which is used to explain the stress phenomenon. Again, it is used to explain a stress phenomenon. Now given below, when an organism is confronted, so what is this general adaptation syndrome? Now you see here, when an organism is confronted with a threat, the general physiological response occurs in 3 stages. Okay, so whenever any organism experiences or come face to face to any threat, then there is physiological change in the organism. So what are these physiological changes? So or physiological response. So physiological response occurs in 3 stages. The first stage is alarm stage or alarm reaction. So in the alarm reaction, now you see the first stage includes an initial shock phase. This is initial shock phase in which resistance is lowered, and so in the alarm reaction stage, resistance is lowered and you can see here, and counter shock phase in which defensive mechanism become active. Okay, counter is, okay, hold on. So now here in this alarm stage, what happened? So resistance is lowered and counter shock phase. This is initial shock phase where resistance is lowered, and counter shock phase in which defensive mechanism become active. And counter means here the reaction. Now you can see here resistance is lowered first in this alarm stage, and then count, and this is also the initial shock phase. When there is shock, this is initial, then that is counter shock phase also, means opposite to that, means that is also initiation of resistance to that threat. Okay, so that's why written counter shock phase in which defensive mechanisms become active. Then given alarm reaction is characterized by autonomous. So what are the characteristics? So here you just be clear, alarm stage meaning lower resistance with initial shock and counter shock phase. Okay, initial shock, and in response to that initial shock, there it is counter shock phase, in which defensive mechanism become active. Here the defensive mechanism become active. As you can see, when defensive mechanism becomes active, then uh, resistance it will start to increase. Okay, level of resistance you can see here on the vertical axis, given level of resistance and along. So that's why means here it activates resistance and then it start to increase. Alarm reaction is characterized by autonomous excitability, adrenaline discharge, increased heart rate, muscle tone, and blood content, and gastrointestinal ulceration. So these are reaction or reactions, or you can say bodily changes in the alarm state. So these are just like adrenaline discharge, excitability, autonomous excitability, increased heart rate. So these are you can symptom of alarm stage. Then next given, now depending on nature and intensity of the threat and condition of the organism, the periods of resistance vary, and the severity of symptom may differ from mild invigoration to disease adaptation. So now you see, depending upon the nature and intensity of the threat, so the it depends, means the greater the threat, intensity of the threat, the greater it will be the position, or you can say greater will be the symptom which will arise in the organism. So those symptoms may cause, now you see here, depending on the nature and intensity of the threat and condition of the organism. So now periods of resistance vary. Periods means how much, for how much time there will be resistance by the organism. That it will depend on the intensity of the threat and condition of the organism. If greater is the intensity of the threat, okay, then in that case the resistance period it will not be for longer time. Okay, it will be for short period of time. And if it is less threatening, then in that case resistance period may increase. Okay, then the second stage given is stage of resistance. So in stage of resistance, maximum adaptation occurs during this stage. So bodily signs characteristics of alarm reaction disappear. So whatever it was the characteristic or your sign characteristic of alarm reaction disappear. So what were characteristic signs? Just like increased heart rate, adrenaline discharge, autonomous excitability. So those things disappear in this stage. Okay, so resistance increases to levels above normal. So whatever it is the normal resistance level, so more than that the resistance level increases in this stage. Okay, then after, if the stressor persists or the defensive reaction proves ineffective, the organism deteriorates to the next stage. Now you see, if the stressor, now here in the second stage of resistance, organism has a maximum level of resistance. So bodily signs of the first stage, that is alarm stage, just like increased heart rate, autonomous excitability, adrenaline discharge, so those things disappear at this stage. So now the condition is that if the stressor disappear, if stressor disappears, then in that case organism, there is no further threat to the organism, and the organism can manage that stress. But but if the stressor continuously persists, and then in that case what will happen, defensive reaction will become ineffective. Okay, so here, if stressor remains active, then in that case defensive reaction proves ineffective and the organism deteriorates to the next stage. Okay, this is, and what is the next stage? Stage of exhaustion. So in the next stage, what happens when the adaptation energy is exhausted? Signs of alarm reaction reappear. So now here in at the stage of exhaustion, here adaptation energy is exhausted. Okay, adapted whatever it was the energy which was resisting the stress, now that is exhausted. Then when it is exhausted, then the sign of alarm reaction reappears. So whatever it was the uh, reaction of alarm stage will reappear here. So now what were the signs? Just like increased heart rate, adrenaline discharge, autonomous excitability, these all things are going to reappear again, and the resistance level begins to decline. Okay, so now you can see here in the figure also it is clear. Now here the resistance level is maximum in the second stage, resistance stage, and then when exhaustion, now here you can see at this point uh, adaptation energy is exhausted, and now after here the you can see here it is decreasing level of resistance, it will start to decrease. Now it is going down, and due to this decrease in the level of resistance, whatever was the characteristic symptom of alarm stage will reappear. Okay, and when again alarm stage characteristics symptom reappear, then in that case the organism collapses. Okay, so that's what here it is written. You can see when the adaptation energy is exhausted, signs of alarm reaction reappear and the resistance level begin to decline irreversibly. Okay, resistance level begins to decline irreversibly means now if it is going to decline the resistance level, it cannot go back to its highest resistance level. Okay, and then the organism collapses. Okay, so this one it was a model for stress phenomenon. Now this theory has some shortcomings. Okay, so now here some shortcomings of this theory given. The shortcomings of this theory, first shortcoming here given, it is based on research is carried out in an infrahuman subjects where the stresses are usually physical or environmental. Okay, here this experiment or this research was done in infra on infrahuman subjects where the stressors are not humans. Okay, where stressors were physical or environmental. So whereas the human organism is not always confronted by such stressors. So so this research was carried out for infrahuman subjects, just like stressors. Stressors are like physical and environmental condition and not the human factor in this case were considered. Okay, but the stresses may arise due to human factors also. Okay, second, given intra-psychic or social factors emerge as major stressors in human being. So intra-psychic means social factors emerge as major stressors in human beings. You can see here we feel stress due to social factors also, but in this research social factors were not considered. Then third, given the reaction of human subjects are more direct, perceptible, and easily measurable. Okay, so whatever research it was done for this general adaptation syndrome model, so for that model, whatever research was done in that, infra subjects are more direct and perceptible. Means their uh, physical condition or environmental condition can be measured. Okay, but this is not true for human subjects, as their responses are mediated through several layers of cultural and social filters. And you know that human also get stress from social factors also, okay, or human factors also, and those all factors pass through so many layers of cultural and social filters, so which was not considered in this research. Then the fourth given three, okay, now here next point given, three important sectors of life in which stress originates are. So what are these three sectors in which we get stress? The first is the job and organization. Okay. The second sector is social sector, and the third it is given intrapsychic sector. So job and organization meaning here totality of work environment. The social sector given social or cultural context, and intrapsychic sector means intimate and personal, like temperament, values, ability, and health. Okay. So first we are going to study this first one, job and organization. Okay. The stress due to job and organization. So that's why here the heading written organizational stress. So given stress in the organization has been defined in terms of misfit between a person's skills and abilities and the demands of his or her job, as a misfit in terms of a person's need not being fulfilled by his job environment. As you can see, in the organization, stress arises due to misfit between a person's skills and abilities and the demand of his or her job. So if he is working in the organization where his or her skills are not utilized, okay, so and the organization is demanding some other skills and abilities, then in that case the person who is doing job there so will feel stressed. Okay, so that's why written misfit between a person's skill and abilities and demand of his or her job, and as well and as misfit in terms of person's need not being fulfilled. So since whatever skills and abilities the person possesses, so those skills and abilities are not demanded by the organization, so in that case he or she will feel stressed. Okay, so six sources of stress at work given. So first source it is factors intrinsic to the job, related to the job. So the first it is inside this given working condition may cause the stress. Second, shift work may cause stress. Third, given work overload may cause stress. Okay, so these all three belong to factors intrinsic to the job, okay, related to the job. Second given Second given, role in the organization. So how role in the organization relate to the stress? Role ambiguity, role conflict, and the degree of responsibility for others are major sources of stress in the Western society. Indian organizations have following three factors of job stress. First is role erosion, second given inter-role distance, and third given role stagnation. Relationship of at work. So learning to live with other people is one of the most stressful aspects of life. There are three critical relationships of work. First, those with superiors, those with subordinates, and those with colleagues or co-workers, which can produce stress. Okay, so here relationship at work may cause so many different types of stress. So here, so with superiors, so relation maybe with superiors, maybe with the subordinate, maybe with colleagues. Okay, so career next given career development. So a lot of issues such as job security, fear of job loss, obsolescence or retirement, and numerous performance appraisals can create pressure and strain. The frustration of having reached a career ceiling or having been over promoted can also induce a lot of stress. So these things are about career development. So stress due to career development. Okay. So career development means job security. Second given, job loss, fear of job loss, yeah, retirement, and different types of performance appraisal. These all things can cause stress, because these all things are related to the career development. So that's why. So these all things come under career development. Then the fifth one given, organizational structure and climate. Just being part of an organization can present threat to a person's sense of freedom and autonomy. So now, hence, organizational structure and climate. If the organizational structure uh, is not in accordance with the person, okay, if a, and the climate is also not in accordance with the person, then in that case he or she may feel threatened and may get stress. Non-work factors which can cause stress, like family problems, economic problems, health problems, political uncertainties, etc. Now next, given burnout. So, what is burnout? Burnout can be defined as the end result of a stress experienced but not properly coped with, resulting in symptoms of exhaustion, irritation, ineffectiveness, discounting of self and others, and problems of health. Health meaning just like hypertension, ulcer, heart problems. So now you see, what is burnout? It is a type of, it is the end result of stress if not properly coped with. Okay, so now you can say burnout, it is the end result of a stress when the stress is not properly coped, or if stress is not properly managed. So which causes, means end result causes symptoms of exhaustion. It means burnout has symptoms just like exhaustion, irritation, ineffectiveness, discounting of self and others, and problems of health. So these are the symptoms of burnout. So now you got, so burnout means that is the end result of stress when not properly managed, and the symptoms are irritation, exhaustion, health problem, ineffectiveness, like that. Then next given, burnout appears to be a response to interpersonal stressors on the job in which an overload of contact with people results in changes in attitudes and behavior. So burnout may be the response of interpersonal stressor. If the interpersonal stressor, if increases to the threshold, means beyond the threshold level, then in that case that stress may cause burnout. Burnout stress syndrome. Boss. Burnout stress syndrome means boss, the consequence of high level of job stress. Consequence of high level of job stress, personal frustration, and inadequate coping skill have major personal, organizational, and social costs, and these costs are probably increasing. Boss is a deliberating psychological condition. What is burnout stress syndrome? It is a type of psychological condition brought about by unrelieved work stress. So when the work stress is not relieved, then some type of psychological condition arises, and that psychological condition is known as burnout stress syndrome. Four types of consequences can arise from it. The first consequence given, depletion of energy results. Second, lowered resistance to illness. Third given, increased dissatisfaction and pessimism. Fourth given, increased absenteeism and inefficiency at work. Okay, so these are four different consequences which can arise. Then here you can see there are stages of burnout. Five distinct stages of burnout here given. The first given, honeymoon stage. In honeymoon stage, in the what is given in the honeymoon stage, there is an euphoric feeling of encounter with the new job. Euphoric feeling of encounter with the new job. There is excitement, enthusiasm. So now this the first stage. In the first stage, there is excitement of the enthusiasm, pride, and challenge. Okay. Dysfunctional features emerge in two ways. So here, this is the first stage. The symptoms given: excitement, enthusiasm, pride, and challenge. So dysfunctional feature may emerge in two ways. The first given, the energy reserves are gradually depleted in coping with the demands of a challenging environment. If the environment is challenging, then the energy reserves are gradually depleted. Okay, to cope those demands. Second given, habits and strategies for coping with the stress are formed in this stage. Okay, so strategies habits and strategies for coping with the stress are formed in this stage, which are often not useful in coping with later challenges. So here, habits and strategies to cope those stress those to cope those stresses are formed. Okay, then the next it is given, fuel shortage stage means in this stage there is vague feeling of loss, fatigue, and confusion. The symptoms are job dissatisfaction, inefficiency, fatigue, and sleep disturbances, leading to escape activities such as increased eating, drinking, and smoking. So you see here, fuel shortage meaning at this stage there is vague feeling of loss, means there is feeling of loss, fatigue, and confusion, and these things causes uh, job dissatisfaction, if inefficiency, sleep disturbances, and things causes to these things cause to escape activities such as increased eating, drinking, smoking. These are escaped activities. Why escape activities? Because by doing that, the person in this stage tends to escape, wants to escape the stress this by doing these things, by eating, overeating, or drinking, or smoking. Then comes here the third stage of burnout, even chronic symptom stage. In the chronic symptom stage, the physiological symptoms become more pronounced and demand attention and help at this stage. So now you can see here, so it was the physiological symptoms become more pronounced, means the physiological symptoms become more visible and demand, and these symptoms demand attention and help at this stage. Common symptoms are chronic exhaustion, physical illness, anger, and depression. A sense of fatigue and exhaustion overtakes the individual. Crisis, this is the first stage, crisis stage. He or she feels oppressed. There is a heightened pessimism, and the self-doubting tendency is ascended. Symptoms: peptic ulcer, tension, headaches, high blood pressure, difficulty in sleeping, etc. So these are the symptoms. So crisis stage meaning the person feels oppressed, there is heightened pessimism and self-doubting tendency. Fifth, you can see given, hitting the wall stage with all the adaptation energy are depleted like the glycogen of marathon runners. One may lose control over one's life. Here at this stage, one may lose control over one's life. It may be the end of a professional career. While recovery from this stage may shake up some, others may be resourceful enough to tide over the crisis. Means recovery from this stage means some people may not recover from this stage, and if some people are resourceful enough, then they may overcome from this stage. Okay. So now next given sources of burnout. So sources of burnout given first the following are 9 factors which lead to burnout. So the first source of burnout given level of stress. When stress is too little or too much, it leads to hyper stress or hypo stress. Second, personality. A personality orientation called type A has been found to be associated with cynicism, means low interpersonal trust and a sense of loneliness. So this is about the personality. So such type of personality may, means type A personality may cause a burnout. Other personality factors contributing to burnout are externality. Okay, so another one, it is externality. What is externality? A feeling that the person does not have control over what happens, and that external forces or chances or fate determines things. Okay, it means the person think he does not have the control over its environment, which may cause loss of hope. Third given, nature of job or the role. Okay, so here it is about the job and the role. What type of, so if the job is highly routinized, does not allow any diversity or freedom, and does not provide opportunities for creativity and growth, it can lead to burnout also. So now, so you can see here opportunity for creativity and growth, it is very important for the satisfaction of the person. Okay, and if such environment is not available, then that may also cause burnout. Now fourth given, network life. So executive, social or economic condition, family life and relationship, family and other obligations, health conditions, etc., also contribute to his or her burnout. Okay, this is about network life. Lifestyle. Now you see here lifestyle. The pattern of structuring one's time. So what is lifestyle? The pattern of structuring one's time. So how you spend your time. Okay, that is your lifestyle. So stress dissipating lifestyle contributing to executive glow up. Okay, so if stress dissipating lifestyle you choose, then in that case it may increase, it may glow up your characteristic, or it may glow up you. Okay, so that's why written contributes the stress dissipating lifestyle contributing to executive glow up, characterized by a relaxed life. Okay, so what type of lifestyle it glow up? So relaxed lifestyle is better to cope the stress, taking up creative pursuits, spending meaningful time with family and friends, etc. So these things are to decrease the stress level. Okay, if such lifestyle, if anyone possess just like relaxed life, taking up creative pursuits, spending meaningful time, so these things help to reduce the stress level. On the other hand, the stress absorbing lifestyle so and stress absorbing lifestyles are just like narrow interest, limiting oneself to work and leading to tense and structured living. Okay, if you are living structured living and you are limiting your life time to oneself, then in that case that may increase your stress level. Role style next given. So role style can be broadly classified into approach and avoidance. So approach style is indicated by hope or success, influence, acceptance and growth. On the other hand, avoidance style is indicated by an executive acting out of failure, helplessness, chaos, irrelevance, etc. Coping style given. So coping style, dysfunctional coping lifestyle are characterized by fatalism, blaming, showing aggression towards others, etc. Functional coping style are persistent in nature, characterized by the hope for solution of problem, etc. Now, eighth number given, organizational climate. So, a supportive organizational climate can much contribute to executive glow up and a hostile climate to executive burnout. Okay, so that is all about this chapter. So, thank you all. So, here the notes you will get in the end.